Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Dan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon. Whether I'll talk about the movies, TV shows, whatever the case may be. If it's related to Disney in any shape or form, then yes, I will talk about it. Okay, yes, more Star Wars content. Again. Okay, I guess it's about the fan base, at least to some extent, I guess. Because the individual, the woman who is pretty much the head of the Star Wars. Well, okay, George Lucas to be precise. Yeah, the whole idea when it comes to a lot of the male viewers, they seem to have like a grudge for these female characters in Star Wars. I mean, that seems kind of like an overly generation to some extent, but yes, it seems most of the time that usually, again, most, and I say all, but most of the fan base, the male people who complain about the female characters. Of course, I'm not saying every guy had done this because that would have been a generalization. I do think that the title of this article is maybe overly generalizing, but yes, it is a problematic enough issue that other men will complain about this kind of thing. I mean, yes, I'm looking at, of course, people like Kevin Swanson, Ben Shapiro, just name a couple of them, or the one guy named Nick I talked about before. So that's like a few of them right there. But yes, it's usually religious people that will talk about this kind of thing. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be religious to complain about this thing, of course. But yes, literally in all the Star Wars films, female characters had been an important part of the franchise. I mean, yes, I mean, including the prequel trilogy. The prequel trilogy is still really bad. It's still some of the worst films I've seen. But that aside, this it still had a princess. He still had like a maybe not princess characters, but more like just a female character. It could be like a fighter or shooter, just whatever. Just a female character. Maybe it has something in the government, maybe some kind of government official. Maybe she's a queen or what have. Point being, female characters have been involved in Star Wars in more ways than one, and they had various positions. Position they could be poor as all hell, like Ray was. You know, Ray from the sequel trilogy, she was really, really poor. I like what happened with her. So, point being, female characters have always been involved since the very, very beginning. Yes, I'm including the original trilogy with Princess Leia. And of course, this was further expanded upon when it comes to video games, comic books, graphic novels, books, you name it, or in some kind of animation, like as an animated movie, maybe, or maybe having her own live action TV show. I don't know. Point being, yes, female characters have been involved in one way or another, in some shape or another. That is definitely true. So yes, this was a thing that was said during an interview with New York Times, and yes, it was admitted that the female filmmakers struggle with the fan base backlash to their respective film or even TV show installments because of the fan base being really toxic. And yes, you can't just say like you could just ignore it because you can't just ignore it like that. You can't just ignore a problem and expect it to go away. Of course. And yes, obviously, I know before anyone says anything, I know the quality of writing would vary from show to show, from movie to movie. Of course, I get that. And yes, the same thing could be for the quality of the writing could vary from show to show. Same thing with the comics. Same thing with the whatever else. There's literally anything else with the books. I know. That's only because of the fact that goes more down the lines of the writers. You can't expect George Lucas to literally write every single script for every single episode of every single show on every single comic, novel, you name it. You can't expect George Lucas to like write all the scripts for literally everything involving Star Wars. That's highly unrealistic. Even if he could do it, it's going to take a lot longer to finish because it would be pretty much a one man show, so to speak, a one man army, so to speak, fairly speaking. So it's literally impossible for him to write all the scripts in every Star Wars project in existence. I'm going to happen. That's no. All right, let's just wrap it up because I just feel like I'm just beating with the head with this kind of thing because this is something I've mentioned quite a few times before because the female characters have been involved in Star Wars since day one, since literally the first episode, the first Star Wars movie, Episode 4, A New Hope. Regardless of the time period, regardless of when the story takes place, yes, the male characters needed the female counterparts to help them out in various different ways. Otherwise, they would have lost. Of course, yeah, they would have been finished. They're done for. The ghost is cooked. However you say that. So the female characters were needed desperately. I mean, yes, it could depend on the story. It could depend on what the situation is. So yes, I know I'm in a lot of ways I'm over generalizing it too to some extent. I realize that, but I'm just saying. Point being is that the female characters are needed. The female characters are needed in one shape or form when it comes to the female characters in Star Wars. And no, this doesn't mean that men are weak. That's not what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that men are useless. I know a lot of people just say that, oh, it's the feminism, the angry feminist or whatever, that's ruining Star Wars, which is a lie. I cannot say that the quality of writing has went downhill in Star Wars just because there's a female involvement when it comes to like the female directors or the female president, the female CEO, what have you. Oh, too much diversity. That's just nonsensical because you're just trying to act as if that women ruined it. That doesn't make any sense. That's a logical fallacy when you think about it. You just want to look at black and white thinking. George Lucas already ruined Star Wars with the prequel trilogy, and I'm not saying that because men shouldn't be allowed to write Star Wars. Men shouldn't do that. Men shouldn't do it. No, of course I'm not going to say that. He might have made some bad movies, sure, but still, that's more of his fault. That it's more down to the individual, as I'm getting at. Just not just saying the entire gender is at fault here. That's just flat out stupid. Anyway, that'll be it, folks. So, thanks for watching. See, I just want to do this real quick.